All right, now it's time for the Q&A segment of the video where I have you guys sending questions to my Instagram, which if you're not following me, it's a bit bleak. I don't know why you're being so aggressive. But first up, we have, what are your thoughts on how the Trump presidency is going so far? I am shocked at how much he has gotten done in such a short amount of time. I also really appreciate, the dedication to transparency. I appreciate the, new task force, which is clearly happening specifically under Trump for a reason, to disclose UFOs, JFK, all the stuff that I'm personally very, very fascinated in. And I think that the country deserves to reckon with and to understand. The cutting of the financial waste and the abuse on the Treasury has been phenomenal to me. I don't know why the fuck. That's what kills me. Baby, we were funding Sesame Street in Iraq. We were filming sex changes in Miss Guatemala. Why that should be on anybody's agenda? First of all, I don't think anybody should even have to pay taxes for like 2 or 3 years just because of that. I'm going to need a refund for the sex changes in Guatemala I was paying for, Miss Girl, actually. Right? So just knowing how much our government was sending out money with no rhyme or reason is really bleak. And so I'm loving the fact that that's being corrected. As much as people, want me to be upset about the executive orders having to do with trans, which it's just so crazy. If we go down the list, what are the things I need to be upset about? That he made it so minors can't transition? That he said there's only 2 genders? That he said trans women shouldn't be in women's sports? The best thing, I mean this sincerely, the best thing for trans people is to be put in timeout for a while. That's the best thing. Regroup, right? Get off the SSRIs. You should never mix SSRIs and hormones. I'm just being honest. You really shouldn't. I've seen the girls try, right? I've seen the girls try. You need to understand that the things you've been fighting for are antithetical towards any healthy society, and try to find your way into society in a way that is conducive to your safety and everyone else's safety and common sense. It's just that simple. If I could put every trans bitch through, some kind of trans university or something, it would just be lock them in a room, right? And just make them watch every Blaire White video from 2016 to now. As far as other things I like about the Trump presidency, I'm liking his picks. I'm loving the Make America Healthy Again thing. I'm loving RFK coming in. And look at God. They banned Red 40 before he was even confirmed. They're like, we know we're not getting Red 40 through RFK. Even if he gets confirmed, let's just ban it now. So nature is already healing just by the right people being placed in position. Tulsi, love it. Love her, right? Although, I came across this picture of Miss Tulsi, and y'all know I rock with Tulsi. I was supporting her. I still support her. And, I've met her a few times. Always lovely, right? What is that? What is that? And even more demented was this picture from the side somebody got. And for me, it's just giving, why would you do that? It's giving, I can't think of a reason that's not kind of bad for you to do that, right? But God works in mysterious ways. And, if God's going to work through you, Tulsi, let that happen, okay? Okay. Listen to the voices of the light. If you're throwing up that OG gang sign, you might be in communication with some things. God only, okay? God only. Do you think poly people deserve their own flag, let alone sexuality label? That's a stupid question. You're not stupid, right? Okay, there's no stupid questions, but deserve a flag is a weird thing. Anyone can make a flag. I don't really know what their flag would be. I do consider poly people, as we discussed earlier in the podcast, I do consider them to be gluttons, right? I do consider them to be nasty, often nasty, fat, nasty, right? It's just sloppy, right? And like I said in the previous question, aesthetics matter. Aesthetics are Beauty is palpable and you can feel it, and it makes people feel good. And so when you just sink into this role of like, I'm going to look nasty as hell, be nasty as hell, and have no standards for my life or who's involved in my life or inside of me, right? Then it's probably going to be an issue. So they could have their own flag. Maps have their own flag, girl. Doesn't mean anybody got to wave that shit. But I guess I'm not so mad at people like living their life a certain way. You know what I mean? It's like I live my life in a way that 99.99% of people would have no concept of. So I'm down with that. I'm not trying to make it illegal or anything, but I am trying to make fun of you. Just a little bit. Are you making a new TikTok? Yes, Blaire White Official. Go follow me. Hi, bitch. Hi, bitch. Do you regret doing your transition? How do you feel after it? Are you satisfied? Love you, bitch. XOXO. Well, listen, bitch. You guys know very well that one of the things that drives me absolutely nuts about the current landscape is the rampant censorship and stories getting buried deep or manipulated based on who's covering them. Which brings me to a recent story I found on Ground News. At an inauguration prayer service, a pastor asked Trump to, quote, have mercy on transgender kids and immigrants. The Daily Show crows Trump gets a lecturing in a church, which is, of course, vague, it's emotional. On the flip side, the right runs with have mercy on gays and poor immigrants, quote, Bishop to Trump. He responds. There's obviously bias in the other direction. It's blunt, it's loaded, it's leaning hard into the culture war. So same story, but totally different vibes. And that's why I love Ground News, because it lets me cut through the bias and see what's really up. Oh, and the story also is covered mostly by right-wing outlets. If you're on the left, you could have very easily not even seen it. And that is where the Ground News feature called Blind Spot comes into play. This feature flags stories like this one so that you're not trapped in some echo chamber or oblivious to what's going on simply because of the bias who's reporting it or not reporting it. Ground News is honestly a game changer for me. I use it daily and I can't recommend it enough. I know you'll love it. And right now you can snag 40% off of their Advantage plan with my link, of course, at ground.news/BWP. Or you can scan the QR code on the screen. No, I don't regret it. I don't regret anything necessarily that's ever happened to me in my life or that I've done. I know that's corny as hell. I know that sounds, very like millennial, right? We used to put that all over our MySpace pages. No regrets. Well, you know what? I'm going to stick with that and be a cringe millennial because I think that everything I've been through and done in my life has been God's purpose and God's plan for me. I know how that's going to sound to people who are not believers or whatever, but I really truly believe that. I believe that it happened, for probably reasons I don't understand. One of them, obviously, being probably my ability to communicate with people and spread a message, right? I mean, that's not me being conceited. That's me understanding that I probably wouldn't be famous if I wasn't trans. And based on the fact that I can go on tour and have people come up at the Q&A and thank me for saving their life or thank me for, helping their family or saving them from transitioning, that to me feels like God's plan for me. That feels like I'm walking in my purpose. That feels like I'm doing what I need to do. And what I think is objectively true is that I would not be famous and have this channel and this platform without being trans. A different version of me could maybe have a platform of a different kind. But, when you have someone tell you that you saved their life and you know that that person would have never even heard of you or thought of you if you had not transitioned, it's kind of like, there's God. There's God. So for me, I am not someone who relates to, the detransitioners who have regrets or find themselves living in a body that feels foreign to them. My transition felt very it's a funny word to use for it, but natural, right? It felt very this is what I was supposed to do. I've never had any trapped in my new body moments. I've never looked in the mirror and been like, what did I do? But it's crazy because I don't feel like I have to experience that to have empathy for people who do. And I find it really gross and scary and a bit psychotic that so many trans people have no empathy for trans people simply because it's an experience that they don't relate to, while also condemning people who don't understand trans people because they don't have that experience, right? So for me, I'm empathetic to all sides. Doesn't mean I relate to all sides. And I love the life that I've built. And a pillar of that has been transitioning. And if that means I'm just in that really small percentile of people that it really does help, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. What's the most insane sounding conspiracy theory you believe could be potentially true? That is not the question you want to ask me because I I believe in quite a few. And for me to pinpoint the craziest one, the thing about conspiracy theories is they kind of scale. Like the craziest ones, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, tend to be the ones that are true. But if there's any one that I would recommend people go down the rabbit hole of, because it's probably one of my favorites, it's the Tartarian conspiracy theory. This conspiracy theory is basically that there is an erased and hidden part of history that involved a group of people who are responsible for the really intricate, insane cathedrals and buildings that we find all over the world, the courthouses, the temples, and a lot of the sort of classical, like Greek deco, like Roman architecture that doesn't make any sense because you see it in China and you see it in Southern America and you see it in, Africa and you see it in Europe and the US. And basically that all these buildings, if you look into their origin stories, have really fake BS construction stories and construction dates. And it's the idea that there was a civilization other than the indigenous Americans that were here when people came over and created America, and that we've hidden the origins of those buildings and erased an entire group of people. I know I'm sounding crazy right now, but it's fascinating because it's a real, I've never seen it debunked in any articulate way. And it's basically the idea that if you look at how these buildings are actually created, that it's simply illogical that horse and buggy people, that people at the start of America who were just trying to survive the winters could create these magnificent structures and structures that we can't replicate today. Similar to how we know we can't really build the pyramid like how they built the pyramid even today, it's the same thing with these structures. And so it goes into this idea of history being falsified and that we actually come from something more advanced. It's not that we started with horse and buggy and then are now getting advanced and now we have certain things. It's that there's actually an origin of people that were more advanced first and that we've dwindled down from that. And the Tartarian conspiracy theory. If you think I sound like a crazy ass bitch, just look into it. It's crazy. Are you Islamophobic? I think the better question is Islam Blaire-phobic? Sit on that and come up with the answer and let me know, and then question why you even feel like you should ask me that. Have you ever encountered fake conservative influencers, quotation marks? I assume what you mean is a question I get all the time is, have you ever been around conservative influencers who are like not really conservative in real life or live lives that are like opposite of their values? And the answer is hell yeah. I'm going to put this out there right now and y'all can eat it. Okay, y'all can just take this in and it doesn't matter if you believe it because it's true. What I'm about to say is true and you can process it however you want to process it. I live a more conservative life than 95% of conservative influencers I've met in my life. And when I say that, I mean, think of the things, because if we want to put trans on a scale of like debauchery or, immorality or like, contrarian to conservative thought, think about what's even more contrarian than just making choices about your own body, even more like immoral. That's where I'm talking about like a lot of conservative influencers fall in. It's why I don't have influencer friends really anymore. It's why I stay to myself. It's why you don't catch me at events. It's because you get to know some of these people and some of it's just crazy. It's like, why are you married and also like, why are you a man who's married to a woman and also sleeping with your 18-year-old male assistant? That to me is a bit more debaucherous. I'm over here in, a monogamous relationship of almost a decade. It's like, yeah, I've made choices about my body. Right? But like diddling and hiding that you're gay, all my cards are out there, right? She's here in the reptilian outfit and all, right? I am who I am. A lot of people are just not. And that's just why I stay to myself. It's why you just will never catch me at certain events. And it's just like people you meet over the years end up coming out, like you find out they're crazy. Like there was that one chick, Lauren Chen, who ended up being a Russian spy. Like people are just living all kinds of lives. And as I may be the most stigmatized person in right-wing media. In fact, I know I am. But I know for damn sure you at least get the cards up front. She's here. Some of these other hoes are like Russian spies and shit. Like, I just can't. Make sure you guys follow me on TikTok now at Blaire White Official. Follow me on X and Instagram at MS Blaire White, Ms. Blaire White. Because y'all want to say that because Trump's in office, I'm now Mr. Blaire White. Not quite. I still have that handle. Follow me. Subscribe to this channel as well as my main channel. Follow this podcast on Spotify. And I'll see you in the next episode of the Blaire White Mother Effing Project. Mwah.